The sun was dipping behind the suburban rooftops, casting long shadows over the pristine lawns. Mark had always thought his quiet neighborhood was safe, until the day a group of men in dark uniforms, flashing fake badges, stormed his front yard. Panic gripped his chest as his pregnant wife Lisa screamed, clutching her arm which had been crushed under the weight of one thug's boot. Time seemed to freeze. The neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering questions no one dared answer. Mark's heart pounded, rage and fear blending into a storm he could barely control. In that moment, his instincts took over. He reached for his Glock 19, the cold metal familiar in his trembling hands, and aimed at the intruders. Every second felt like an eternity. One wrong move, and everything he loved could be gone. Mark's fingers tightened around the Glock 19 as the fake officers advanced, their eyes cold and calculating. Lisa trembled on the porch, clutching her injured arm, tears streaking her face. "Stay back!" Mark shouted, his voice cracking but firm, the sound echoing across the empty street. One of the men sneered, ignoring the warning, stepping closer with a threatening glare. Mark's mind raced. He couldn't wait for help. Every second mattered. The neighbors' whispers grew louder behind drawn curtains, but no one dared intervene. His chest burned with a mix of adrenaline and fury. Protecting Lisa wasn't just instinct, it was his only priority. As the first thug raised a hand, Mark's heart sank. He knew a split-second decision could change their lives forever. The first thug lunged forward, his boot sliding dangerously close to Lisa's swollen belly. Mark's vision narrowed. The world outside seemed to vanish. Every instinct screamed at him, protect her at all costs. Without thinking, he squeezed the trigger. The sharp crack of the Glock shattered the evening air. The man froze, eyes wide, disbelief written across his face, then collapsed. Panic rippled through the remaining men. Mark's hands shook violently, but he kept his aim steady, the adrenaline masking the fear. Lisa sobbed uncontrollably, clutching his arm as if he were her anchor. In the street, shadows danced violently against the walls as chaos erupted. The neighbors, hidden behind curtains, could only gasp, frozen in a mix of fear and awe. Mark realized this was only the beginning. He hadn't imagined the danger they had invited into their lives, and the night was far from over. The remaining men froze, their fake badges glinting in the dim streetlights, uncertainty flashing across their faces. Mark's heart pounded like a drum in his chest, each beat louder than the last. He crouched low, keeping Lisa behind him, eyes scanning for any sudden movement. "Don't come any closer!" he barked, voice sharp, carrying both rage and warning. One of the intruders fumbled, clearly unprepared for the ferocity they had provoked. Mark could hear Lisa's shallow breaths behind him, a constant reminder of what he was protecting. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the garage, making them all jump. The tension stretched thin. Mark knew he had to act fast. Every second now was critical, every decision irreversible. The men exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to fight or flee. In that split second of hesitation, Mark realized the night was turning into a battle he hadn't asked for, but one he couldn't back down from. Mark's eyes never left the intruders as they hesitated, fear finally creeping into their expressions. He could feel Lisa trembling behind him, gripping his jacket tightly, her pain fueling his resolve. One of the men made a sudden move toward her, and Mark's reflexes ignited. Another shot rang out, echoing through the quiet neighborhood. The remaining attackers ducked instinctively, panic replacing their bravado. Mark's breathing was heavy, every nerve on fire, but he stayed focused, determined not to let anyone harm his wife. Lisa's sobs grew louder, mixed with shallow gasps from her injured arm. Outside, the quiet suburban street had transformed into a war zone of shadow and fear. Mark knew he couldn't stop until every threat was neutralized. The balance between life and loss hung by a thread, and one wrong move could shatter everything they had left. The last of the intruders stumbled backward, fear finally breaking their courage. Mark's Glock remained steady, hands trembling with a mix of exhaustion and adrenaline. Lisa clung to him, her face pale but filled with trust, knowing he would protect her no matter what. The street was eerily quiet now, broken only by the distant wail of a siren, a promise that help might soon arrive. Mark's mind raced. The danger wasn't over, but the tide had turned. Each shadow seemed threatening, yet none dared approach. He realized the weight of what had just happened. The line between life and death had been razor thin, and yet they had survived. Lisa whispered through tears, "You saved us." Mark's heart clenched, relief mingling with lingering anger. They had won the night, but the memory of fear, pain, and rage would stay etched in their minds forever. Morning broke over the quiet street, the golden light contrasting sharply with the terror of the night before. Mark sat beside Lisa on the porch, gently bandaging her injured arm, each movement careful and filled with tenderness. The neighbors peeked out, murmuring apologies and awe, but Mark barely noticed them. His world had narrowed to the small, fragile life in front of him. The fake officers were gone, leaving only shattered confidence and lingering fear. Lisa rested her head against his shoulder, tears still glistening but mixed now with gratitude and relief. Mark exhaled deeply, the Glock resting on the table beside him, a reminder of the choice he had been forced to make. Though the night had tested them beyond measure, it had also reinforced their bond, proving that love, courage, and determination could withstand even the darkest of threats.